So ends my fight. Goddess of Mana. I concede.
People can do amazing, terrible things when driven by passion. Potential is purely mortal. It cannot be defined or predicted. Strong emotions can change the world. Deilophos, your curse permeated the entire realm with an unyielding strength, born of your devotion to Cerulia. However, that same love is what stopped you. The Alms carried the will of their homelands with them.
Cerulia?
Delo, for so long, I have watched you. For so long, I have felt the depth of your undying affection. But that is enough for me. I do not want anyone else to know the same pain that we have suffered. When we meet in the next life, I am sure we shall live together at last. Forever together in this beautiful, peaceful world. That is the future that awaits the two of us.
Cerulia.
Cerulia's soul will return to the ethereal sea. There, she will await the promise of new life the mana tree will bestow upon her. She is not the only one. All souls, including you and the Alms of past and present, are reborn through the mana tree. Deilophos, it is time. Your soul has earned its own rest. Fear not. Two souls so inextricably entwined as yours will find one another again. Alms, thank you for returning to protect the mana tree on my behalf. And Coda.
It's been a while. I missed your voice.
The strain of maintaining 5 realms conjoined while fending off the corrosive devotion of Deilophos depleted my strength. I have slept for far too long. But I know of your immense struggles. Allow me, Goddess of the Realms, to elucidate you as to your newfound potential. The Mana Sword and its wielder. 2 driving forces within our world. Together have the power to determine the future.
The future? How?
The choice is yours, now that sword and hero are together as one.
Val, you can change the world like you wanted, but remember the cost of great change. Altering fate means revising the fundamental principles of the realms. The capability to forge new alliances, sever worn unions. What you decide here and now could create another vengeful soul like Deilophos. Are you prepared to shoulder that responsibility?
Am I?
Am I? Are you kidding me? If you aren't the one to trust in this decision, I don't know who is. We've come this far. Now's your chance.
Change is hard. It is frightening. But do not forget why we are here. You know our answer.
All we have accomplished has led us here. Let us follow it through to the future.
Trust your instincts and it'll be all right. I know you have it in you.
Val, your heart has guided you thus far, as it should now at the end of your journey.
Everyone,
I see I needn't have bothered asking.
It took the efforts of so many different people along the way for us to reach this point. Hundreds of people's hopes and dreams. Living this experience is how I know it's the strength of everyone's hearts that got us this far. I don't want a world full of sadness and loss. We need to build something new.
The future is determined by those who have a hand in making it. As the goddess of mana, I do accept and acknowledge your wish. Now, Val, show us your conviction.
The future I choose is...
I choose for more mana games, etc. Apparently someone said like the studio that makes this game like died or something? Oh, is that actually the end? There's gotta be something at the credits, right? After the credits, there's gotta be. Hey, we made it! The credits of Visions of Mana. The final boss was good. The only thing I would change is his HP. I think he had a bit too much HP. This is cute though, we're getting to see pictures of the characters. I love when credits do this. Good game. I think this was a really good game. The gameplay is really fun. Like, the gameplay is, like, hard. It hard carries the game. Like, the gameplay is, like, it's one of the best combat systems I've played in recent memory. I mean, FF7 Rebirth is my favorite combat system, period, so. But, even comparing it to other action games, this game, like, stood the test of time with its gameplay. That's not the right thing to say. The game's gameplay was incredible. I really enjoyed it. I love the way the elementals are used. I love the different play styles. The classes are really good. Each character is very, very different. Different teams, different builds. The elemental breaks are awesome. The bosses were great. I think the only thing I didn't like about the gameplay was the dodge. I think the dodge was a little clunky. Everything else, though, was pretty great. Really good gameplay. Gameplay was fun. Now, the story of the game is fine. For the first half, I think the story is really interesting. I have a lot to talk about when it comes to the story and the characters, and I was actually thinking about it like for the past 2 or 3 streams. I think the story like starts off really promising and good, but as soon as Auron and Liza like are at peace, the game kind of drags. Now, mana games aren't known for their stories, and I knew that going in. Like, I didn't play all the mana games. I played Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy Adventure, Legend of Mana, Bolt Trials of Mana, the original and the remake. So I knew the mana games weren't known for their stories, but this story actually got me, like, interested. It had this whole theme of, like, oh, like, are we really, like, there's this tradition where alms sacrifice themselves to the Tree of Mana, and it ensures that the world is at peace, kind of like Final Fantasy X. It had this theme, right? It had this really cool premise, and I was like, oh, wow. I really can't wait to see where they go with this premise. Hopefully they nuance it and it's not just straight up FF10. It would have been fine if it was just straight up FF10, but like a different coat of paint, and they did some cool stuff with it. But then, like, they kind of dropped the ball on it as the game goes on. Like, Auron betraying you should have been fleshed out more. We should have, like... I'm fine with Auron, like, being like, I want to save Liza, but Auron didn't even, like, he wasn't even like, I have to save Liza when he was betraying you in the moment. It was just freaking obvious. They didn't do enough with Auron. Another thing is, I'm fine with Hina dying, but Hina died way too early. I didn't really care about Hina. When she died, I was just kind of like, oh. Like, I expected her to die, but I expected her to die, like, at least halfway through the story, and she probably died, like, 30% through the story. But, I wish Hina had more time. I wish we got to know Hina better, and, like, it actually, like, we felt the relationship between Val and Hina, because they were onto something, but I feel like they just killed her off a tad too early. I think everything with the story was good up until Liza and Auron, like, up until Liza and Auron's spirits, like, wandered away in Guju. So basically when the Benevodon's awoken, now the Benevodons are awesome, but it kind of just turns into a generic plot at that point. Because at that point, the characters just accept, like, oh, they don't even acknowledge, like, hey, like, is this really the only way, like, to save the tree? They kind of just, like, accept their duty. I was really hoping the game would deal with some interesting themes of, like, maybe you get to see, like, Val dealing with his grief. We didn't really get to see Val dealing with his grief of Hina till the very end, the stuff in Tia Nia. It kind of feels like they forgot about it, and then they, like, remembered, like, oh, yeah, we should have some character moments. It's really unfortunate. I wish the game focused more on the characters. I think the game would have been better overall if they just focused more on characters like having their own perspectives on like what they're doing. And I wish it focused more on like just the people of the world and like what they think of this tradition, instead of just like, for the first half they bring about it and then they're just like, oh, let's kill all the Benevolons, let's kill Delafos. Like, the game just, in the second half, it becomes like a generic plot, which is fine, because again, the mana games aren't known for story, but there's two problems with that. The first problem is they really have me excited at the beginning of the game, so it's kind of a letdown to just like drag. And the second thing is, this game feels like Trials of Mana, basically, in its story. Like, other than the opening premise, the Benevolon part feels just like it does in Trials of Mana. But the thing is, Trials of Mana is a 20-hour game. This game's like close to 40. So like, there were certain parts where the game dragged. Like, I think talking to people in the Playhouse, I was starting to feel it, the stuff in Lagrazzo. Basically, like, following the Benevolons, such a really cool task, kind of dragged its feet a bit. Like, the cutscenes didn't really do much to move the story forward. The story just felt super stagnant at a point. Like, oh, we gotta kill the Benevolons. But it felt like it was moving at a really slow pace. So, that was disappointing. I wish the game just focused more. It could have had the Benevolons, it could have had the stuff with Delafos, but I wish throughout the game we got more moments of the characters pondering about what they're doing and reflecting, like, is what they're doing right? Like, I wish it focused more on, like, the ideology side of things instead of just like, oh, we have to keep our journey to the mana tree going. And the last thing is the characters. I think the characters are good, but the problem is the story like becomes just basically like nothing, that the story doesn't really have anything to do with the characters. Like, I think the characters are good on paper, and I like them, but I don't love them. But I don't really think that's the character's fault. I think the characters had the potential to be like really, really good. But I think the story just doesn't really allow room for them to grow. Like, they have their moments. Like, Karina has her moment in Lone Green, and then, Palomina, like, kinda got her moment, but it wasn't as good as, like, Karina's. And Morley had his moment. I think Morley probably got the most attention with his mother and everything. Him and Karina, probably. And Jule had his small thing. Like, they had their arcs, but I don't know, it didn't feel that great. And the way the characters bantered left a bit to be desired. I wish the characters had more, like, chemistry with each other. Like, sure, they had a line or two with each other here and there in the active dialogue, but there wasn't enough. I attribute that more to the story not being up to par, rather than the characters. I think the characters aren't at fault. I think they're good. I think the story just didn't really have anything to do with them, unfortunately. But of all the characters, Val is really disappointing. I don't really care for Val. I don't think Val's like a bad character, but like I never really loved Val or anything. Val is easily my least favorite of the 5. I think Val's just kind of boring, honestly. I think Val would have been better if we got to see him deal with his grief of Hina, or if we got to see him like just got to see more of him. We really didn't get to see much of Val, I feel. We saw more of the other 4 than we ever did of Val, which is unfortunate. I think the game just drags when it comes to the Benevolon part, because it's like something that should be taken care of in like 5-ish hours takes like over 10. It's, yeah. The main takeaway is, I just wish the game focused more on what the opening premise was. Like, Auron and Liza were cool characters. Auron needed more fleshing out. But Auron and Liza were cool characters that never really got to fly, basically. Which is the metaphor I'm going with. They never really got to soar. It's like they were interesting and they had an opening premise that was really, really cool, but they didn't have enough time to flesh it out. They kind of just threw it out the window. And then at the end of the game, when Val was like grieving Hina's death, or when they were talking to Delafos, by the way, Delafos is a cool concept, but they didn't do enough with Delafos. Delafos, the same thing. They were like, oh, Delafos is going mad because he wants revenge on the Mana Goddess because of what happened to Cerulia. It kind of feels like they forgot about Delafos, and at the very end, they were like, oh yeah, let's flesh him out. So, they could have done more with Delafos, but they didn't, unfortunately. Cool concept, but didn't execute it well. But I wish the game focused more, like, the game at the end was like, Yeah, Val is grieving Hina. Of course he is. Like, we should have seen that throughout the game more. Or, trying to think. Or the people at the Alms. We were getting to see the Alms journey. I was thinking of it like, man, can you imagine if this game focused more on what the Alms were thinking of their journey rather than just accepting their faith off screen, as it were? Like, just coming to terms with it? Or, there should have been more factions that were like, there should have been like maybe different factions you can have. Like, some people were for the mana journey, others were against it. That would have been really cool. Bring about like an SMT flavor of the story. They could have done so much with this theme, but they didn't. They kind of just threw it out the window after like 15 hours or something. It's really unfortunate. I wish they, again, I didn't expect much with the story because it was mana, but, you know. I think the generic story would have been fine, but the game is too long to justify it. Like, the second half really drags its feet. This game is like twice as long as Trials of Mana almost. It could have been longer if I did all the side quests. That's another thing. The side quests, like, they feel too repetitive and basic, and they don't do much for the characters. They could have done stuff with the characters in the side quests. Because, like, Star Ocean 6. Let's use Star Ocean 6 as an example. Star Ocean 6. The main story of Star Ocean 6 is pretty good, serviceable, nothing special. I like the themes it has. The characters in the story don't do much. But you know what does good with the characters? The private actions. If you go out of your way for the private actions, you get those nice character moments. The story does, like, barely anything with them, especially in the space part. But the private actions do more with them. This game doesn't really have that. The side quests were a chance to do more to make the characters shine. Because they didn't really get a chance to shine, unfortunately. So, that's disappointing. I wish they had more side quests. Sure, have a few side quests that are like, hey, kill Cerberuses, or collect this item. That's cool. But, like, they could have put some side quests to flesh out the characters more. And I would have been fine with it, but... Overall, I'm fine with the story being similar to how Trials of Mana structures it, especially in the second half. But it just drags. Trials of Mana, its story is generic and basic. It's serviceable enough, but it's short. It's short, simple, to the point. Doesn't drag at all. So, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, but I wish the game focused more on the opening themes instead of just the game being like, oh yeah, let's just, the characters just accepting it. I think the real way to describe it is the beginning was really captivating and got me hooked. Maybe not hooked, but it got me interested, it got my attention. The middle suffered. I think the middle of the game suffered, and the very end was starting to get somewhere, but like the middle suffered. So the end of the game just felt redundant. Because the end of the game, they remembered their themes and they were like, oh yeah, let's have all these hard-hitting moments.
Grandpa
But
Val? Val?
Oh, Val's like a grandpa? Excuse me? I knew we were gonna get one more scene.
He has returned to the goddess's side for his final rest. Be at peace, Val. Now, you can be reunited with Hina at long last.
I guess that's fitting because Ornn and Liza are together. Not really a fan of that ending, though. Gotta say, I'm not really a fan of it. I wish the ending were more like, hey, Val lives and is thinking about Hina and deals with, like, his grieving, instead of just him dying. I don't know how far this is in the future, but... Oh, are they gonna show us them here? Oh, yeah, hey.
Huh? Why am I here?
Game, I didn't have him in that outfit. He was in a class outfit.
Aha.
Last I checked.
I see now.
Yo, Koda. This is really pretty. Oh, is Hina like the goddess? That's nice. Alright, ending somewhat redeemed.
I kept you waiting for so long. Sorry about that. But I've got a lot of stories to tell. Now, where to begin?
Okay, it's cute. Would be amazing if I cared about these two like a lot more. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the story really should have just focused on the themes that it set out to focus on. Because again, it's a mana game, so I expected the generic story, but they were actually like having me interested in like, oh, maybe they're gonna focus on this, but then they just threw that out the window. It really feels like the beginning is like interesting enough, the middle like suffers, and in the very end, yeah, they bring about these themes again, but like by that point, like why bother? Because the middle like suffered. It just dragged on its feet. Either more Delafos fleshing out, or maybe they could have done more of the themes in the beginning, show more, like, show the characters struggle, maybe, would have been great. Especially Val. You really failed with Val, because Val is the main character. His girlfriend, like, died, but, like, you don't really, like, see him grieving or dealing with it, in a way, until, like, the very end. So, that's unfortunate. Preparing to save completed data, yada yada. Yes, I will probably have to platinum this game. I don't think I have to NG plus it, though. The gameplay is fantastic, though. The gameplay is like the one thing stopping this game from being like average. And the story's not even bad, it's just fine. I just think it drags. Mostly.
Visions of Mana!
Like, I think the story just kind of like goes on for too long in the second half, and it's like, at that point, it's like, it's dragging. It clearly doesn't have enough to tell. It just kind of like doesn't do much with it, and you're like, just fighting each Benevolon just takes longer than it should. Like, there's too much fluff that doesn't really need to be there. You're not fleshing out the characters. You're not really showing me any of the new themes. At that point, you're like kind of just, it's just exposition that doesn't really need to be there. The music is okay. I don't think the music's like great. There's some boss themes I really like, but like the music isn't really like, the music isn't like one of my favorites of all time. Like there were some times where I was like, oh, this music's really good, but nothing special. The game looks really nice. I don't know, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. Because the gameplay is just really fun. The gameplay is like doing the major lifting here. And like the story's good enough. Like it's fine, I guess. It's not even good, but it's fine. It's okay. It has an interesting start, the middle kind of stumbles, and the end is just like, why bother? Because the middle stumbled. So like you can't do much if the middle of the story just fumbled. They threw their themes out the window after like 15 hours or something. So unfortunate. And I like the characters, but the story didn't really have anything to do with them, and there were not enough like side quests that made them really, really good. But on paper, I don't hate the characters. I actually kind of like them, but I think the story does them a disservice, mainly. Now, I'm a little under 4 hours. I'm thinking about what I want to do. I kind of want to see what happens if I load the game up. If there's like a post-game chapter like Trials of Mana. Feet Delafos. Or do I need to load my other save? My clear save, maybe? How do I... Just load. Here we go. The sky. What happens if I load this? Oh, we're just back on Flamby. Is it like a post-game story like Trials of Mana? There's something in Illistana. Yeah, there's like a couple of stuff in Illistana. I don't know, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. The gameplay, like, was fantastic and really fun. And kind of what was, like, really, really pushing me through the story. But I wish everything else was a little bit more, like, fleshed out, I guess. And the story, like, kind of let me down, because I liked the story at the start, and I thought it was interesting, but they didn't really do anything with it. They kind of, before they can get interesting with the themes and nuances, they just threw them out the window and kind of went for a more, like, basic plot that drags. And the basic plot wouldn't have mattered, because at least Trials of Mana is short.
Let's plan our next move.
Trials of Mana is a short game, so, like, it's, even when you're going for the Benevolons, it's not that bad, because it's, like, it's short, so it doesn't drag. But this game drags, because it's close to 40 hours. Yeah, what I want to do here, I don't really, like, the thing is, I don't want to do another... I probably have, like, if I do the story chapter, right? And I would like to do the Greater Ares, I probably have another streams where, but I'm trying to think, I don't even know if I want to do another stream of the game. We have a little bit of time, so let me at least see what they want me to do with the star here. I don't really know if I want to do another stream of the game, because, like, you know, I'd rather, like... I don't think a lot of people were super interested in watching me play this on Twitch, so I'd rather just, like, if I want to do anything with the game, I'd rather just record it for YouTube, to be honest. So I'm kind of thinking, let's just see what happens if I enter Illistana. I'd rather just, like, move on to something else from the streaming side of things. Anyway, let's see what happens if I enter this door. What do you got here, Palomina? I assume Palomina might take a part in this. Or maybe not. Maybe it's her brother? Who else is in this palace that we can talk to besides her brother Ian? I guess we'll find out. Bum, 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 bum. Hey Raptor, how's it going? Anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts. The gameplay was fantastic. Everything else, like, nothing was really bad in this game, but, like, the story let me down later as it went. It just kept dragging, and the characters were great on paper, but mostly the story's fault. They didn't have anything to do with them. I give it, like, an 8 out of 10, mostly because of the gameplay being so fantastic, though, at the end of the day. But, you know. Alright, what happens here? This is Ian, yeah.
Palomina, fancy seeing you all here.
Ian, are you attempting to conceal something from me?
Oh, Aish, it's so good to see you. Congratulations on being appointed the Alm of Darkness.
How have you been? Is your thirst for knowledge as unquenchable as always?
Oh, do not think I can't see through your rather poor attempts to change the subject. I can read you two like a children's storybook.
Oh, no.
It would appear there's something you two are hesitant to tell us.
Is that so? Ian, Niccolo, do inform us.
Well, the royal crown has been stolen. Right before the coronation ceremony, too, of all times. Many citizens already harbor reservations about my becoming king due to my age. If word gets out that the crown is gone, my reputation is sure to plummet.
To make matters worse, we've received news about raging monsters popping up in the wilds. The whole palace is in utter shambles right now. You'd normally just dispatch a unit or two of guards to take care of it, but these are jumbo-sized monsters we're dealing with.
Several settlements have already formally requested Illistana's assistance. It would not be right for me to just ignore them.
So, Ian and I came here to formulate a plan, and that's when Mual came along.
Honorable alms.
Huh? Vidiz, is that you?
I have foreseen the quickening of a dragon most impure. If we do not take action, Eve Zalaha, the shadow of chaos, will reawaken.
Eve Zalaha?
An ancient dragon from the earliest days of Fadiel. People feared its power and sealed it away long ago. It has now re-emerged. This very same power is at fault for the sudden rise in monster activity. Eve Zalaha intends to descend upon this realm as its true ruler and annihilate humanity. It could very well be the end of all life as we know it.
Annihilate humanity? This is terrible! But what can we...
The seal on the dragon is still in place. There is time for us to prevent its rebirth. Find the one responsible for this, and put a stop to their plans. Please, save our world from irreversible destruction.
You said that voice belonged to a Vidiz. Who is that?
She is an envoy of the goddess of mana, entrusted with ensuring the future is preserved.
An envoy of the goddess? Incredible. We cannot turn down a request from someone so noble. But between the stolen crown, monsters, and an ancient evil dragon, how?
Maybe it wasn't obvious at first, but I think that was Vidiz's way of asking us to lend you a hand, Ian.
Most likely. You don't have to bear this weight all by yourself. We're happy to lighten the burden.
Oh, but... Niccolo, what should I do?
We don't have much information about this Eve Zalaha, so I propose we take care of all the other monsters that have appeared out of the blue first.
We're experts at monster hunting.
Well, if you all do not mind, then...
Come on, Ian. If you're gonna be king, then you're gonna have to get used to ordering people around. It's not hard. Take it from me.
That's right. Oh, I know. You can practice on us.
What? Wait, let me just...
It would be best to bend to their beseeching, Ian.
You are right. I will consider it a part of my regal training. Ian, heir to the throne of Illistana, commands you, Alms! Vanquish the monstrous perils threatening the tranquility of our land. The culprits reported total 4. The Harsipity twins, sighted at the Wind Sanctum. Axpeak, spotted around Dorfer Volcano. Dew Inc., seen lurking around Dura Gorge. Finally, Frost Gigas, who has invaded the Temple of Wendell. Exterminate these monsters and put an end to their violent rampage!
Those are the same monsters we fought in the story, are they not?
You got it.
Right away.
Sure.
Understood.
I'll be sitting this one out.
Huh? Why?
He doesn't fight,
I'm
hello?
already familiar with the aforementioned monsters and would gain no new academic insight on this expedition. Eve Zalaha, on the other hand, is most intriguing.
Then why don't you stay here in the palace and help us investigate this big bad dragon?
Now that's what I call properly allocating your resources. My friends, I wish you all the best.
Oh, Aish, you never change.
Ian, if I encounter the royal crown en route, I will endeavor to collect it.
Okay. Thank you for your help, Palomina.
Regalia does not a ruler make. Your character and conduct are equally critical. Remember that, Ian.
I will. This is the perfect opportunity to prove to everybody just how much I've learned about ruling a kingdom. Be careful out there, everyone.
This really is the Trials of Mana post-game chapter, basically.
Alright, we've got 4 targets we need to take down. We can stock up on anything
So
we need here.
you're
in
telling
Illistana.
me I need to
think I
look
remember where they all were. But I'll
for
ask
the
Ian
monsters
again if
that
I
we
forget.
fought throughout the game. I know Dew, Link, Axpeak, Frostgate, those are monsters we fought throughout the game. So you mean to say I need to fight them again, and then come back here and then we do something about this Zayava whatever. Okay. I imagine we'll probably get expansions for the Elemental Plot as well, because there's one more lock, I think. And in Trials of Mana, you got like class 4 for doing the post-game chapter. I don't really... I mean, like, yeah, if they gave Delafos more build-up, sure, that would have been fine. I don't really think it's a... I don't think, like, it's a big deal that Delafos, like, comes out of nowhere, because that's in line for Mana. I think it surprised me that they were giving more, like, they were giving Delafos, like, they were doing more with Delafos instead of just, oh, he's bad. Like, that surprised me more than anything. But yeah, for what it is, like, I think that was fine that Delafos kind of came out of nowhere, because that's just in line for the series from the ones I played. I think what they should have done is, well, first of all, yeah, they should have built up Auron in general more. Auron and Liza, like, should have done more. I mean, yeah, I pretty much got my thoughts out. We don't need to rehash them.
Let's plan our next move.
We're gonna stop here. I'm gonna think about what I want to do here. I definitely want to do this post-game story, but I'm kind of thinking if maybe I want to get all the trophies and then try and get the platinum with this story being the last thing we do. And I'll probably show off the Ares as well. I'm thinking if I want to do that or something, because, like, you know, I don't think this story is going to be like an hour, so I'm not going to do it now. But maybe I want to get all the trophies or something, and then I can maybe get the platinum with the story. We'll see. We'll see. I have some time to think about it. We got the main story done, though, which is, like, the main thing.
Let's rest up.
We'll see if I end up streaming it. I'm not really sure if it would do well for a stream, so I'm probably not going to bother streaming it, but I'll do it. For sure. Might just want to, like, you know, put the game down a bit from the streaming side of things and play it a lot on my own to try and, like, trophy hunt, because the gameplay was super fun. Like, the gameplay is probably, like, not, like, up to snuff with, like, how I enjoy some of the Tales games I love, or FF7 Remake and Rebirth, or even, like, Dragon Quest Heroes 2, because I love that game. Really need to play it again. But, I love that game as well. But, the gameplay was fun. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I'm gonna give credit where it's due. The gameplay was incredibly fun. It was so good. But the gameplay was super fun. It was probably, like, it was the one thing really, not that everything else sucked, but it was the one thing I was always having enjoyment with. I was pretty much never let down with the gameplay other than fighting the vampire. So, it was really good. And the story was just kind of, it started off promising, but it was just kind of mid as it went on. And it would have been fine if the game were shorter, because it's structured similarly to Trials of Mana, but this game is closer to 40 hours. So, like, in the kind of story it tells, it drags too much, basically. Trials of Mana, like, had a simple story, and it was fine enough, because it was, like, it got its point across, and it was short, and it never really dragged. But this game dragged, unfortunately. Like, in the second half. But, you know, it'd be that way. Yeah, we're gonna stop here. I'll do something with this. Maybe I'll do it for only YouTube. We'll see. We'll see what I'm feeling, basically, because I might just want to move on to something else, like, streaming-wise. But regardless, I'll at least do the post-game story, and I want to do the Ares. Those are, like, the big two things. But, you know, we'll see what I end up doing. But either way, the main story of Visions of Mana is done. And I enjoyed the game, but, you know, the story let me down. But I still enjoyed the playthrough. It was really fun. Probably, like, an 8 out of 10 game, but that's mostly because of the gameplay. But still a really fun time, and, you know, definitely, when we're comparing it to games I played this year, definitely like, Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance more than this game, and Astro Bot. Like, this game, because again, the gameplay was fun, but, like, SMT5 Vengeance was better, and Astro Bot was better. Obviously, FF7 Remake was better, or Rebirth was better. And we'll see how Metaphor fares, and also Ys 10, but overall, it was a fun time, main story, and I'll do something with the post-game, probably maybe YouTube only, or maybe I'll stream it. We'll see what I'm feeling. Depends on my mood. But, yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.